You're listening to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans.
If you want to have guarantees, you have to buy a wash machine.
Monte with a scooping
We don't lose a match, either we win or we learn. And today we learned.
It's infield to Mane, 25 yards out. Lovely ball for Bella. Onside, 1-0. Buffon shot. Oh my word!
Unbelievable. He ran around the pitch like Bambi on ice. It was very, very embarrassing to watch.
And now, your host, Matt Markstone. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans. My name is Matt Markstone. I'm the host of the show, and no matter where you are, no matter how you may be listening, whether this is your first time or you've been here before, thank you for making the show part of your day. I hope that you enjoy it. This week, Saints did not have a match, but I hope it didn't stop you from doing something that you enjoy, whether it's football related, whether you caught another round or another match of the FA Cup, whether you went out and watched some non-league, whether you actually maybe made it out to catch the Southampton Women's Football Club play a match. That would be very fitting considering one of my guests for this week. And I was plenty busy. We managed to get out a Patreon-only episode ahead of the Crystal Palace match as a preview with Prem Worldwide. And we managed also to conduct 2 other interviews, had about 3 hours of podcasting done before the sun was up on Saturday morning. And it felt just a good start to the weekend. So I hope it comes across okay. And this week, I actually have Issy Foster. She is on Twitter at IssyFoster93, and she is the goalkeeper for the Southampton Women's Football Club. And I'll be honest, I don't know why this was in my head, but I thought Issy was from New Zealand. And so I went for it, and I had some questions about moving around the world and playing football all over the world and coming to a different country and all this, and none of them fit because she's actually English. And so that's really cool. Shows you the great level of detail that I go into when I prepare for a show. I think you should just, I thought I'd let you in on a little secret there. But anyway, Issy was great. She was a fantastic guest. And she's a fantastic keeper, only allowing 4 goals all season. So we talk about that. We talk about her coming over to the U.S. to play at the collegiate level and what it's been like just to move around England and play football. We also talk a little bit about the way women's football is treated in England and how it's progressing. And we also talk about the state of women's football in the United States a little bit too. So maybe a few more, not difficult questions, but just maybe a heavier topic than some of the previous interviews. But I think it goes well. So I think it went well. And Issy was a real sport about all of it. She was fantastic. So I encourage you to go out and support her if you don't. And now is as good a time as any to let you know that you can support the Southampton Women's Football Club in their progression, in their promotion campaign up the leagues by visiting the website, which is in the show notes, or following them along on social media. They're at SOTON Women's FC. And you can get in contact with them. You can support a player. You can just support the club. They are always looking for financial contributions because, as Issy mentions, and I've mentioned in the past, they rely on sponsorships in order to operate. They are not backed by any major men's club. And so some of the questions that came in this week regarding the men's team or anything like that, like I didn't address them with Issy because they're not affiliated. So I hope that makes sense to everybody out there. And as a bonus this week, we also have a short interview with Matt Neuhausen. Matt is a Florida-based Saints fan who went over to England on a trip for his birthday, organized by his girlfriend, wound up at St. Mary's, where she purchased him tickets. And they actually have a pretty cool story as to what happens once they get there. So we'll talk to Matt about that. It's his first time ever being at the stadium, or first time over there. So we'll take a look at that and just have a chat with him about that. So I hope all of that makes sense. And I just want to say, but one more thing before we get into this is I have been so blessed by so many listeners from all over the world. I've gotten packages sent to me from England, from across the United States, from Canada now, and from Australia. And it's amazing to have the support from around the world, and for each of those listeners to share just a little bit of their lives with me. A little bit of their personality comes through in the packages, and it's I got a package this week that I cannot even describe to you how it makes me feel. I have goosebumps right now just talking about it, just thinking about it, and just to the listener who sent that, just I know that you made not only my day, but my daughter's day, who helped me open the package. My son was blown away by what was in it. And I will share all of the contents with it, but not this week, because I want to do it justice. And right now I have everything kind of laid out, and I'm just basically staring at it as I'm doing this, and fills me with a lot of good feelings all the way around. So thank you to that listener who did that. I cannot thank you enough. And I promise, as you instructed me, to make sure that when my time is done with it, that it goes on to somebody who will bring them a lot of joy. And I promise to do that. So anyway, I hope that you enjoy the show as much as I enjoy making it. I hope that you enjoy the interviews as much as I enjoy talking to the people. And I hope that you enjoy whatever it is you're doing while you're listening to this. Because I enjoy making it, and I'm sitting here. So I guess if you enjoy it as much as it runs out, is what I'm trying to say. I think we're just going to go to the interviews now. So thanks for listening to the show. I'll talk to you afterwards, if I'm not too embarrassed to get back on here. We'd like to welcome to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, Issy Foster. You can find her on Twitter at IssyFoster93, and she plays for the Southampton Women's Football Club. And it's my pleasure to have you on the show, Issy. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We've gotten the big question out of the way, which is, for some reason I thought you were from New Zealand, and I have no idea why. But we've established that you are indeed from England and are now living in the Southampton area. But I'm eager to talk to you about the season that the team is having in your career. And I know that you moved abroad and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to chatting about all that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I guess just to get started, when did football become kind of a focal point in your life specifically? Like, were you playing from a very young age, or did you have brothers and sisters you played, or how did that kind of work?
Well, I'm one of three. I'm the oldest. Got a younger sister and younger brother. But my dad, he used to play football himself, so he used to just play around with me in the garden. And I guess obviously Max, my brother, maybe he thought he'd be the football enthusiast, but it was always me that wanted to play with him. We'd go over the park, and literally we'd spend hours over there. And he was a goalkeeper as well, so just whenever he could, we'd be playing in the garden. But I didn't join a team for a while because I just thought it was just a bit of fun. And then I think it was a couple of years of doing it, and Dad's like, "You're actually really good, you should try for a team." And then it went from there, really.
The fact that he was a goalkeeper, did that make you want to did you want to be like your dad and be a goalkeeper, or did it just happen in a different way?
Well, yeah, I think it wasn't even so much that I wanted to be a goalkeeper, but he's obviously passed on his quick reactions and stuff, and I just found that I was just a lot better in goal. Even if I found outfield a bit more enjoyable initially, but then I think when you really excel in a position, then you get a different buzz through that way. Yeah. So, brother and sister, did they also kind of follow along and play along, or did they play out in the field, or did they not wind up kind of playing as much as you did? Well, I think they both did initially. I remember when I was playing just for a local team, my sister, I can't remember she played for a little bit, and I'd always pass her the ball and stuff, but she wasn't really as into football. My brother, he played in golf for a bit, but it was more myself that had the passion for it. And my brother played for a while, but it was just a bit of fun for him, and I just took mine so seriously, and it was a massive part of my life. So I just took it further. I take sports pretty seriously, and that's directly passed on from my dad, who was looking back on it. A lot of people who watched me play sports growing up have said he was super hard on you, and I just thought that was normal. And I look at my kids, and my son is good at stuff. He doesn't try.
he's finally found a sport that he's not good at, which is basketball. And he's playing now with kids who've been playing forever. And he's not tall. And so it's not been a great sport for him to enjoy. He's not enjoying it very much right now, but he's going to stick out the season. But my daughter loves everything, loves sports, not super coordinated, not super talented, kind of prances around and pats people on the back when they start crying or when they get hit in the face, or like that's when she runs the hardest, is to go console people. And so it's like,
oh, bless her.
It's hard to be mad at her, but sometimes I'm just like, can you just play like hard, maybe, but it's okay.
You can't teach that.
no, I've just learned just let her have fun. It'll be okay.
That's the most important thing anyway, really, having fun.
It is. It's easy for me to tell people that. It's harder for me when it's my own kid. Like, I will tell other parents all day long, but it's like, I have an aunt who never says anything. She hardly ever talks. And she told me one day at one of the games, like, you just need to shut up. Like, she's fine. And not everybody is you. And I just went, oh, that hurts because you don't ever say anything. But, I mean, we established that I thought you were not from England initially, but where did you wind up growing up in England? Are you from the South Coast originally? Because I know you're down there now, but where were you from originally?
No, I was from the West Midlands. So I was born in Shrewsbury, and I grew up in a little village in Telford. So, and then I lived there pretty much all my life, apart from we did a year in Devon, but quickly moved back to Telford. So yeah, this is I moved down to Southampton in July. And I really like it down here. It's lovely.
Yeah, we were talking about the weather before, which I think is pretty standard English dialogue. But growing up, what team did you grow up supporting? Did you grow up supporting a local team, or was your dad a supporter of maybe one of the other teams, and did he pass that on to you at all?
Well, my dad's an Exeter City fan, so I didn't really feel much affiliation to them. So I didn't really support a team. I really wanted to support a team, and I kept like asking like, who should I support? And no one really stood out to me to support. But my boyfriend now, he's a massive Villa fan, so he's slowly trying to convert me. So, and Villa was like the nearest, pretty much, one of the nearest teams to me. So it does make a bit of sense, but yeah, it's going to take some converting. Yeah,
well, I'm looking at where Exeter is. That's nowhere near where you grew up, right?
No, that's where my parents are from.
So not a huge maybe fan of any one club, but when you were growing up and watching the sport, was there any person or any team that you kind of were attracted to watching more often than not?
I think it would just be whichever team I was playing for. Like, I went through Shrewsbury Town's Centre of Excellence, so like basically all my youth football was there. So obviously I had a soft spot for Shrewsbury Town, and Joe Hart was the keeper there at that point. But I wouldn't say he's a role model to me. But I think back then it was probably like, I used to enjoy watching Edwin van der Sar and just watching Match of the Day and just loving the goalkeeping on there, really.
Talking about how you went through the academy there, what was that like in terms of, I mean, honestly, as an American fan, I don't hear a lot about girls, especially going through academies. And oftentimes I think at least my understanding is that boys are given maybe a little bit more preference and there's a little bit more opportunity for them. But what was it like? I mean, did you have kind of the same coaching opportunities as some of the boys that were going through the academy, or how did that work out?
Yeah, well, obviously we didn't, we weren't able to train as much as the boys and everything, but I thought the setup was amazing because I really quickly went from, I think I was just at a local team, Shawbury United, and that's the first team I ever played football with, and within 6 months Shrewsbury had scouted me and I was in the academy, and we'd get to use all the same facilities as the boys, and we get access to all the kit, and games every weekend. I thought it was a massive difference to what I was used to, and football was just like, I hadn't really, because I was a swimmer growing up, so I'd never really experienced the football world, and I thought it was amazing because obviously swimming was, you have to pay to be part of a club, you'd have to pay for all your swimming costumes and stuff, and then football, it was kind of all just like given to you. And I was like, wow, this is this is different. So I thought the academy was really good, and you get scouts coming and watching your games, so you get lots of opportunities. I got called up to a few England camps because of scouts watching me whilst I was there. So no, I thought it was really good.
And would you say, like, even since then, as kind of time has gone on, that it's the opportunities have gotten more and better for young women that are coming through, or do you think it's kind of stayed about the same? And was Shrewsbury Town, was that kind of a normal thing, or was that I guess were they kind of an outlier in terms of the academy system and how that worked?
So in terms of, I'm not entirely familiar with what the kind of academy setups are now, but in terms of having inspirations to look up to, like, we didn't have, like, the Super League now is just like this you can be a professional women's footballer. Like, if that's not motivation, I don't know what is. But obviously, just seeing how the women's game is growing, I can only imagine that's going to be improving the academies and so many more girls wanting to play. Like, when I was younger, I was the only girl in my school that played football, and I was trying so hard to set up a team, and I'd literally have to beg people, like, please, like, we need players, we need a team, and they just didn't know football at all. but like, yeah, hearing, like, the younger girls at Southampton, like, they were in the developments and the under-16s, like, they have school games all the time, and so they're obviously getting, a lot of interest, enough to make a team at least. So yeah, I think it's definitely improving. Good.
That's what I mean, that makes me, as a father of a young woman, that makes me happy to hear. And it's nice also when I see, and part of the reason I ask is we have a high school, I teach at a high school. And so we have both a men's and women's team, or boys and girls team. And the boys always come in with a lot more experience, a lot more understanding, and they've played their entire lives. Whereas a lot of the girls, they've grown up watching the game because they've gone to watch their brothers play. But they were never really, for the most part, a lot of them weren't allowed to play. And it's kind of changing now, where a lot of them are able to play club teams and things like that. But there's always, there's financial issues with that, because it's a pay to play system here in the US. And so it's a little bit different. And of the high schools in the area, I teach at probably the lowest socioeconomic, if you had to categorize in that way, in terms of how we operate. And so a lot of our girls don't get to play. We have a lot of ones that don't have a club team. And so it's, I don't know, it's just a little bit different. So that's part of the reason I asked.
Yeah.
And I do think it is changing in terms of, I think you do have more and more opportunities for females, ladies. I don't know what the proper way to say it is, to play.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah.
I feel like in America you've got so much more competition though. Like, for girls, you've obviously got volleyball and softball and basketball. So yeah, maybe getting girls involved in soccer in America is a bit harder of a challenge than it is over here in the UK. Yeah,
and you mentioned getting a few England, being called into England camps and stuff like that. And, like, I just want to know, what was that? Was that like? I mean, how early on was that on your radar? Was that a goal, or what? How did that kind of happen, I guess?
Oh, I didn't expect it at all. Like, I think my first call up, I was maybe 14, 13, 14. It was for the under 15s, and it literally just came out of nowhere. Just the manager of, like, the centre of excellence just called me and was like, "Yeah, you been called up for an England camp," and I was like, "Wait, what? Like, what kind of England?" And like, England, and I was just like, I was in so much shock. Like, it did kind of just come out of nowhere. Like, I think literally just a scout came to watch our game. I think it was saying Aston Villa, and then literally a few days later I got a call up, and I did a few England camps at under 15 level, and then later on in my career I did at under 19s as well. So they were really good experiences, and it's great to be part of that setup.
And I guess when you're called into something like that, and I would think as a goalkeeper, I have a question to ask you later, kind of about relationships on the field and stuff like that. But I would imagine that being called on something like that, all of a sudden you're faced with an entirely new defense probably in front of you, different styles of play. I imagine that England, they're trying to do that. How does that affect you as a goalkeeper when you're on the field?
As a goalie, you've got to have like a really good relationship with your defence. I'm not exactly the most vocal keeper. Like, I'm not one to go yelling at my defence, so I like playing with girls that have the respect for me and I respect them, because I want them to trust me. Like, if I shout keepers, like, I want them to leave it for me at all costs. But sometimes you go places and they don't know you, they might not trust you. You shout keepers and they clear it anyway, and it can lead to a goal line scramble or something just because they didn't listen to you. That trust wasn't there. So it is a massive thing to have your defenders' trust and for them to have my trust as well.
I can imagine that even when we watch things on TV, sometimes we see one of those things where the keeper comes and the defender gets just a touch to it and then it's a mess. And I think the normal thing is to blame it on the keeper because obviously they're not commanding the area or whatever it is, and I just wonder kind of how I think about sometimes even if they are calling it and the defender just chooses not to do it, I wonder how that works. But how long into a match or into a training session or a couple of training sessions does it take usually for you to develop that understanding?
Basically until you prove yourself, really. Like, it's so different in training to a game. Like, in training you can pull off all these amazing saves and you proved yourself as a good shot stopper, but until you get in a game in like real situations, that like you said, they don't know how you command your area yet. They don't know how you like to take crosses. They might not know how good you are with your feet. So if you're like asking for them to play it back to you, they might be hesitant because they don't trust you. Like, maybe that might have been something you didn't have a chance to prove in training. But it's what I love about Southampton. Like, I felt like I instantly formed a connection with my defence, and like I can tell they 100% trust me and I trust them 100%, and it just makes it so much easier. Because I don't know if you know much about like the Southampton philosophy that we had that Simon kind of brought about, but like it's all like playing it out the back and keeping hold of the ball and stuff. So it is like, this is probably the team I find it most important to have that connection with your defenders, and luckily we do.
I remember talking to Simon about some of that philosophy and some of the major changes that was from how things operated just in the past. But I mean, has that been a big change in terms of your style of play, in terms of playing with your feet a lot, or was that something that you were always pretty comfortable with?
Yeah, well, because I could play, like when I was younger, I used to play outfield. I'm not bad with my feet, but it's like I feel completely comfortable with the ball on my feet, but it's just not something that I'd really practiced in much before. Because I find in America, like the college game, I feel like it's a lot like we're all peak fitness, so it's a lot of just like long balls over the top for like our rapid players to run onto, and we never really tried to play it out. So I'm doing 4 years of kicking the ball long to now, like barely ever. Like I can't. Simon, like I was at the club and Simon was just like, oh, how far can you actually kick the ball? Because he's never really seen me kick the ball because I just always play it short. That's how we play, and it's really effective. So I actually really enjoy this style of play, and quite a lot of games at the moment we're dominating the league. Really, there's only us and one other team that are really pushing, but I'll go games without even touching the ball with my hands or having to make a save. But because the girls involve me, like I get to play out from the back and I get back passes. It keeps me involved at least.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it keeps you, I guess, in the game a little bit, because otherwise it could be.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be falling asleep otherwise. Keeps
you warm, I guess. Some of these mornings, and, or the afternoons when you guys are playing. You mentioned playing in the U.S., and I definitely want to talk to you about that. I mean, it's, I guess, I know how hard it is to make a collegiate team in any sport here. I didn't make it. In baseball, and so I understand just the level of competition that it is to get into any team here, let alone be somebody that comes from outside of the country because it's more expensive for the school. I'm sure there's special paperwork, but you wound up at the University of West Alabama, but how did that happen? When did that start? And in terms of when they started talking to you, or were there other prospects maybe that you were looking at in the U.S., or was this just, how did this start?
Well, I was playing for England colleges at the time, and we had this company called Pass the Soccer that would, whilst we were doing the training camps or away with matches, they'd come and do talks about Pass the Soccer and just the possibility of playing football out in America. And I hadn't even thought about it. I just assumed I was like going to university in the UK, and I was happy with that and everything. And then every time they came and did a talk, that sounds amazing. I just didn't know if it was possible. And then I thought, I'll give it a go, like sign up with them and just see if I get any interest. And I was getting so many emails through like nearly every day, and I was like, this is amazing. And then it's just like obviously some of the offers are wasting your time, but then you just got to find the right ones. And it was a tough decision in the end, but I definitely made the right one.
I mean, did you make any kind of trips out here or out to the United States?
No.
No, you just showed up?
No. Yeah, I just did a lot of FaceTime to kind of get a feel for the school, talk to some of the girls, some of the players that were already out there. I just kind of had to take a gamble with it, really.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I definitely have perceptions of other places, when you think about, it's all shaped through TV and movies and all these other things. So when I think of England and when I think of, or New Zealand for no apparent reason. But like,
I don't know why that.
I'm just seriously. But when you thought
I've never even been.
When you think about America and when you thought about America, when you showed up at the University of West Alabama, like, was it different? Was that the America you were anticipating walking into, or was it a complete culture shock for you?
Well, yeah, I didn't really. Alabama was quite different to what I'd kind of expected. Like, obviously you see like New York on the TV and stuff, but I went to Florida when I was 4, but literally just like Disneyland. So that was all I had to compare it to. So when I went to Alabama, I was like, wow. And then obviously West Alabama is quite, it's in a little town called Livingston. So, it was very different, but it was still amazing. Like Mobile down the south coast, like on the Gulf Coast, was just beautiful. And then we went far from Tuscaloosa, where Alabama is, and that was just like something I'd never seen before. Like the fraternity houses, I didn't even know they existed, but they were ridiculous.
Did you wind up at any American football college games or no?
I only really went to the West Alabama ones, but I went to like a lot of I saw a few baseball games and ice hockey, and so I did like try to immerse myself in all the different sports. But yeah, there's some good experiences.
I mean, you mentioned a little bit about the tactics and stuff with collegiate soccer, and I know it's a sticking point for a lot of I don't know if they're purists or whatever, but people here even complain about the lack of development that we have in collegiate soccer in terms of how that translates over when these guys tend to go to the next level. And one of the things is the rolling substitutions, and the other thing is just the constant kind of the focus on being strong and quick and powerful and just kicking the ball along. And I mean, was it a big shock for you, a big change in tactics when you came over?
Well, yeah, it was because I was playing at West Brom before I went out to America. So I feel playing in the Northern Prem, which is a very like physical league, and some big girls and everything. And then I think I enjoyed when I got to America that it was more about your athleticism and speed, and the game is a lot more direct. Like I found there was so many more goals and shots on goal. So I actually really enjoyed it. It suited me as I'm not like the biggest goalkeeper, but I like to think I'm agile and quick. So that style of football really suited me.
And I mean, going through the collegiate experience, were you a starter all 4 years? Did you come in with the idea that you were going to challenge for a place, or did they kind of make you? Was there an understanding that maybe there was a senior there when you were a freshman, and you were gonna wait your time for a year and then have an opportunity to do it for 3 years, or how did that work out?
Well, see, that was like one of the reasons why I chose this college as well, because I did have a lot of D1 offers, but quite a lot of them were the situation where, look, we've got a senior year, if you played the whole 3 years going into a fourth year, like you can challenge, but you probably won't see the field until your sophomore year. And I'm just thinking, I just want to get out there and get on the pitch. And my coach at West Alabama, he was from Scotland, and he had a lot of international players. So obviously I felt like he was able to connect with me a lot. I felt like a better connection with him, I guess. And the fact that there were so many internationals out there already, I knew like they were going to take good care of us. He didn't guarantee me the spot, but he basically said like, it would be you and I think it was 2 other keepers coming in. And you're going to fight for that spot, but looking at what I've seen, you've got a pretty good chance. And I basically went out there and I earned my number 1 spot. And yeah, I didn't lose it the whole 4 years. Like keepers would come and go, but luckily I managed to keep it.
I mean, and we always talk about you always hear about, I guess, the goalkeeper union, and there's some sort of relationship that you're supposed to have with every other goalkeeper everywhere ever. And I don't know if that's real or not, but what is it? I mean, there is a weird kind of thing on a team where you are competing against the people on your team for a spot, but then you're all there to support each other. How does that, I mean, did that make for some weird and awkward times in terms of when new people came in and stuff?
Yeah, well, we all joke about the GK union and everything, but there is literally one position and you both want that position. And it's not like an outfield player when you can even come on as a start. Like if I don't start a game, like the worst thing, in my opinion, for a goalkeeper is to come on halfway through the game if it's a tight score, or even like you don't feel ready, and like, you tailor the warm up around usually the starting keeper. So if you are the substitute keeper, you don't even feel like you've had that good of a warm up. So it can lead to awkward ones. Luckily the girl I started with when in America, like, we got on really well, and she was frustrated, but she never took it out on me. She kind of knew the situation, and yeah, she was good about it. I've had some awkward ones in the past that can turn a bit nasty, but I try not to get involved in all that.
Yeah, well, that's where you're, I mean, we won't talk about your lack of social media use necessarily, but like that's where that maybe comes in handy, is that you're just not involved in a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, especially Twitter.
Yeah. I guess you would look back on your career in Alabama and say that's definitely a success. I mean, right? I mean, you 100% enjoyed that time. Yeah,
it was great, and we did well as well. We got to the conference every year, and we just gelled well as a group of players, and yeah, it was a great experience. And then getting a degree at the same time is just a bonus, really.
What did you study while you were there?
I did maths.
Ugh. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a nerd.
Well, no, that's. I mean, I have a history degree, and I enjoy that, but I wanted to be an engineer at some point, and then it just. Yeah. I remember asking my math teacher, like, how much more is there? And he just said, so much more, Matt. There's so much more. And I said, I'm going to do something else.
Yeah, it's a lot, but I'm a nerd. I love numbers.
That's good. That's good. And what do you do now off the pitch? What do you do when you're not training, or what do you do for work?
I'm training to be an air traffic controller. So I've just been posted London approach. So I'm just waiting for to find which unit I'm going to be posted at, and then I can start my unit course. Okay.
Is that?
So yeah.
I mean, is that something you always wanted to do? You like that stuff, or is it something you kind of have gravitated towards more recently?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's something that crossed my mind when I was younger, but I never thought it was. I thought you'd have to have qualifications in it and everything, so I just never really pursued it. But when I got back from university and was just looking for jobs, I was like looking to go into finance and all that stuff. And then when I saw this and that you didn't need any qualifications. It was just a lot of like aptitude tests. So I was like, well, I might as well go for it. And yeah, like luckily I got it. So after a lot of tests and stuff. So but yeah, now I know all about it. It's definitely what I want to do.
All right. You're okay with drones then, I guess, with the recent...
No, I don't like drones. They cause mayhem.
Absolutely. Well, after your career after your time at university, were you hoping to stick around in the States, or were you definitely always going back to the UK after that?
No, I was always considering it. Like my professors always talked to me about doing like either my master's or like a doctorate in maths, and there was always that possibility of staying on as a GA. Like Lee University were interested in getting me in as a goalkeeping coach, and so like whilst you do just like that graduate assistant position. So yeah, that did always cross my mind. And then I think when I came back home and saw some of the jobs that were available here, and then I signed for Wolves, I thought it was best that I just stay here and see if I can, make a career here first. And also I wanted to carry on playing football. I felt like if I went back out to America, it would have been harder to play football.
It's kind of a weird thing. Our U.S. women's national team has been very successful, but there's also been a lot of, I don't want to say controversy, but there's been some serious discussions around some of the conditions they've played in, how they're treated compared to the men's team, and stuff like that. And it's always interesting. And one of the most outspoken, figures is Hope Solo, and she's had other issues and stuff like that. So it's just, I mean, were you exposed to that while you were over here, and are you exposed to it over there? Or is that something that's on your mind, or do you kind of just go out and play?
Well, in America, I played. I stayed out one summer to play in the summer league. So I went up to Maine to play for Seacoast United. The league was really good, but yeah, I was surprised at I guess the little funding that they were given and stuff. Like we didn't really get any kit, and like the training facilities we trained at were just kind of about like pitches in the middle of nowhere. I thought like the league would be a lot better funded than that. So yeah, in terms of like the league in America, probably over here with Southampton, we have to pay to play, and this is like the first time I've ever been in that situation. So it was a bit of like a shock to me that like girls at this level are having to pay to play. Obviously we're knocking on the door for the Southern Prem, which hopefully will be in next season. And if we go up to that league, there's still no guarantee that we'll get any funding then either. So there's possibility we'll still have to pay in that league. So obviously I know we get a men's team in equivalent division. I know for a fact they wouldn't be paying a penny; they would be receiving money. So
right,
yeah, it's a bit frustrating.
Do you think that's getting better?
Well, obviously because of the Super League, like girls are able to play football full time, do what they love, and I know a lot of teams help with accommodation, and so it definitely is getting better at the higher level. I guess it just hasn't filtered its way down to this level yet. But obviously it's easier when you're affiliated to a men's side. Like when I was playing at Wolves, the men's team bought us all our kit and allowed us to they let us do like our photos at the Molineux, and we had our signing event was at the Molineux. So we did get like a lot of support from the men's team when we were at Wolves, but at Southampton women's, because we're not affiliated to a men's side, we basically just out there on our own, and I think it is tough. Yeah.
In playing at this level, do you think it's harder to balance everything because you have to work, you maybe have to work extra to be able to pay for everything. You got to find time to train and then train yourself and go to the gym and all that stuff. Do you think it actually requires a little bit more discipline on your part to stay fit and to stay sharp, given the way that everything is set up now?
Yeah, it definitely does, because obviously, some of the girls are traveling from quite far to come to training twice a week and to the games, and like training starts at 6 on a Tuesday for goalie training. So yeah, if were asked to stay longer at work, can't really turn it down because of the money. But at the same time, yeah, so it definitely does have an impact. And yeah, have to sign up for a member of the gym as well, because I don't feel like training twice a week is enough to get me as fit as I want to be. So I've got to pay for that on top. And yeah, and obviously working full time as well, it does make life very busy. But
yeah. So I guess let's talk a little bit about coming to Southampton. What drew you down to the South Coast this season, and what's that move been like for you coming from, I guess, the Midlands down to the South Coast?
Yeah, so I literally did just have to move down here for my job. So Nats is based in Whiteley and Swanwick. So I completed the first part of my training over in Jerez in Spain, and then they said that we'd need to move down to the Southampton area. So as soon as I knew that, I just started contacting clubs around this area, and that's how it led to signing with Southampton. So we moved down here in July.
And you've enjoyed it. You mentioned that it's been nice, and you like the area.
Yeah, we love it down here. So my boyfriend moved down with me as well. He was living in Worcester, but we both love it down here. It's a lot different to the West Midlands, but just I've never been so close to the coast before. Like the beach is literally walking distance, and the weather seems a lot nicer. And the only thing we don't like is the traffic. But
yeah, but I mean, coming on and playing for the team now, I mean, you weren't around last year for the club when they, one of the difficult things that people don't remember about the league that you're in is only one team gets promoted, right? And so
yeah, exactly.
They basically wound up where there was one match where the team dropped points, and it was kind of like, well, that's it. They had gone undefeated all the way up until, I want to say, through Christmas even, and then all of a sudden they dropped points, and that was season kind of over to an extent. And there were some other things that happened as well, but we'll just leave it alone. I mean, what's the coming in as maybe a fresh perspective on this season? Because I've heard from players in terms of how they approached it, but for you, when you came in, what did you see in the rest of the team kind of coming off the back of last year in terms of what they wanted to accomplish this year?
Initially, I don't think I'd realised how close they were last season. I didn't realise they literally lost one game the whole season, and that meant they couldn't get promoted. That just seems insane. And so when I came here, the girls were all really positive and all very driven. They knew exactly what they wanted, and I think they managed to attract a few good players from within that league. I think they knew what Southampton were pushing towards. I just wanted to be part of that, or wanted to push for that promotion. 'Cause obviously playing in the Northern Prem last season, ideally I was looking to play in the Southern Prem, but when I saw a team like Southampton pushing for promotion, I was like, well, maybe it would be a great feeling to get there with a team rather than just, join in the team in the Southern Prem, maybe help get a team to that and then enjoy it I'm still enjoying it obviously, but
right.
And then enjoy hopefully next season in the Southern Prem.
And then is that the league directly above where you guys are at now?
Yeah.
All right. What's been the reception from a lot of the other players at the team this year towards you coming in? And we talked about kind of the awkwardness that it can be, but you mentioned you got along pretty well with them, but everybody been pretty understanding, everybody been pretty welcoming, and the relationships with your defenders and things like that have been good?
Yeah, definitely. This is the main reason why I chose this team. From the first session I went, the girls were all absolutely lovely, and they're definitely by far the nicest, friendliest team I've ever played for. They just made me feel so welcomed, and I really liked Simon's the way he played, and I could tell how committed he was and how serious he took it, which was one of the reservations I had about this league, what's the commitment going to be like? But all the girls are really committed, and they're also all really welcoming to me, and obviously I get got nervous before my first game, but they were all really like, backing me and stuff. So yeah, it was really good.
Do you still get nervous before matches?
Before big games, like I said, in this league, I don't really have a whole lot to do. But when we played Cheltenham, which was they're the other team that are looking for promotion, that was like the biggest game of our season. Like we had to win that.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I was very nervous before that game. But we won 3-0, so it was a really good result.
Yeah.
And I actually had something to do, which was fun. So I felt like actually I'd like help the team for once.
I'm sure you help the team every match, but when you go out there with the butterflies or whatever, which I think is kind of normal and good. If you don't get get excited for the game, then maybe that's not good. So, but I mean, does it just take a touch for you to calm down, or you make that first kind of pass, or what for you kind of calms you down and brings you into the game?
Yeah, that's literally it for me. I need a touch on the ball. So, but I think my defenders even know that. Like, sometimes they turn around to me and say, like, do you want the ball? And I'm like, yeah, please. So I think, it's just getting that first touch, getting a feel for the ball. Definitely just calms me down.
Yeah. And what's your match day routine like? I like to ask this to all the players. Like, are you a big routine person, or are you kind of just a little bit more free spirited, or how does a normal game day look for you?
I wouldn't say I have a specific routine. Like, I like my warm up. I would never want it to be rushed. I want to feel like I've covered everything. I guess the only weird thing I do is before each half, I've got to like run and touch the crossbar. Before the ref blows the whistle. So that's kind of my thing, that I'm like, right, I'm in the game now. That's about it, really. I don't really do anything else that weird. No,
you're destroying all of my stereotypes about goalkeepers and everything else. And
oh no, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's good. It's nice to,
I won't let anyone touch my gloves and stuff, if that counts. But I don't. People try to put their hands in my gloves, and I'm just like, what are you doing?
So a couple more questions, because I know you have some plans. So, and I'm taking up a lot of your time. But what are your goals for the season as an individual now, between now and the end of this year?
So obviously, definitely get promoted. Like, that's number one. Also, only conceded 3 goals all season, so I want that to stay at 3. Don't want to concede anymore. Just to carry on building, really. Like, this January, started going to the gym a lot more. I just want to get more athletic and see my game improve, really. So promotion is number one.
yeah, absolutely. And then what about
goals? That's just a pride thing.
Right. What about next year? What are the plans for the future? Is your job going to keep you in the area potentially, or is there the chance you'll have to move on, or what? Do you look that far in the future, given where you're at right now, or how are you thinking about that?
Well, with my job, I'm posted, like, they do all of London Approach from Swanwick, which is literally just down the road from me. So I know I'm definitely here for like the foreseeable future. But in terms of, I know at some point I will have to go on to shift, and kind of scares me how that's going to impact my football. Like, in an ideal world, I'll just be like, well, I can never do Sundays, but realistically, I know that won't happen. But I'm just trying to enjoy it as much as I can for as long as I can, and help the team get to promotion. And I'd love to be able to still play next season for as long as I can.
All right. Well, I put out a call for some questions, and we got things like, with Hughes gone, do you believe Ralph will come in and clear the salary and out of favor players to save money, hence major push for academy players? But you're not a Southampton fan.
My boyfriend's like a massive football fan. He'll know the answers to that if you want.
Get him on the show.
Well, you can't. He's the new coach, so you can interview him one week.
He's the coach for the Southampton women's team.
But he's like him and Elliot, the goalie coach, have kind of like taken over for the rest of until, because obviously Simon kind of left suddenly, so they've just taken over for the time being. So they were there for the Cheltenham game and the Poole game. So 2 wins, they're happy.
What's the transition been like this season with Simon kind of suddenly leaving, and I don't know if I said off record earlier or not, but like, you know, with Lee, that was really my first connection with the club, my first time ever kind of getting in. And so now I always felt like I had a very clear line of communication. I could, and not that I got inside behind the scenes details or anything like that, but I always had somebody I could ask questions to and who could sort me out one way or another. But like now I'm always kind of, I'm a little, I feel a little lost. So from your perspective, has it been kind of a jarring kind of situation, or has everybody kind of reacted how you would have expected, and calm and just kind of business as usual?
Yeah, everyone's been really positive about it because, like, obviously Elliot was the goalie coach, so he's been working under Simon for a while now, and my boyfriend Gowan, he like came to like every single one of my training sessions and games, and he'd always like Simon would get him joining in as like one of the players because he plays semi-professionally, so he'd obviously like bring up the intensity of the session and stuff, so he'd get involved. And then, you know, I think some of the girls, like he talked to some of the girls like individually, so like it hasn't been a big change because, you know, they completely backed everything that like Simon's philosophies and stuff, so they've just continued the work, but, you know, just tried to work on like some additional things. Like we kind of like we go a bit more attacking in the sessions now, just like because of the league, we just want as many goals as possible. And but yes, it hasn't been, well, not, I'm a goalkeeper, I guess it's a lot easier for me, but it's all been very smooth from my end, and the girls all seem pretty happy with it at the moment, and we all understood like Simon, like we you know, back Simon, he couldn't turn down that opportunity. So yeah, it's all kind of gone smoothly so far.
Good. And I'm glad that there's no, circumstances change for people, and and it's nice to know that that's not, I don't know. I would have been really I would have been upset even not ever having talked to him other than the 2 hours we spent on the phone. But, I would have been a little bit upset had it not gone well. So, I'm glad that it was
definitely like no hard feelings. Like obviously we were upset to lose him, but everyone completely understood. So
sure. Okay. Well, I have one more kind of question for you, and it comes from like as the father, like I said, of a young girl, and somebody who I see my students and my female students. We mentioned that they don't maybe get as many opportunities, but like as I don't know. Coming from your perspective, as someone who has been able to play at an extremely high level and to play at a collegiate level here in the States and travel and kind of see, you know, different parts of, at least a couple of different parts of the world and different parts of the UK and play, like what piece of advice would you offer to somebody out there that is looking to play and at any level? What advice would you give them?
I'd basically just I tell them they've got to be like 100% committed. They got to know like this is what they want to do, because unless it's what you want to do, you're like, I've seen so many players just like that went out to America, they just like fall out of love with the game. So you've got to know it's 100% you want to do what you want to do is a massive decision. But if you're committed and you're prepared to work hard, then it'll be like the best experience of your life. You're doing what you want to do twice a day. And you know that you really get recognised for all your achievements. Like if you're doing well, it does not go unnoticed. So I'd say just work hard, be committed, stay positive, because everyone has lows in their career, but you just got to pick yourself up and go again, really. Yeah,
and I guess one more question that I'll be on the back of that. Like, how do you deal with disappointment, or how do you deal with maybe a match or a game that you? How would you advise people deal with that stuff if things don't go your way initially?
Yeah, I get pretty like emotional about it. Like I take it very personally if I make a mistake. When I was younger, that used to be my dad would give me like, you know, he was my number one fan, but also my biggest critic. So he would, you know, tell me what I did wrong, what to do better. But he picked me up, and I think my boyfriend's now kind of adopted that role, and he's seen me get upset a few times, but he literally just picks me up and makes me realise like that I'm good. I just it was not always my fault. I'm pretty hard on myself sometimes, but yeah, I think just getting the support from people around you makes you realise it's okay.
And do you put a limit on how much football you talk about at home, like after a match, or is there do you guys have any rules in terms of that, especially now that he's coaching you? Do you say, okay, we can talk about it for this long or anything, or is it just kind of understood that you'll talk about it when it comes up, and other than that, you'll be all right?
Yeah, well, we're not too bad with it, really. I feel like the car is pretty much our debrief area. On the way back from the game or training, we'll talk about the stuff in the car, and then it doesn't really get brought up much at home because there's so much going on. He's got his football as well, and then there's my work, his work, and then we're our gym buddies as well. So
yeah,
I feel like it is quite easy to get the balance. It hasn't it's not a 24/7 topic. I feel like the car is maybe the limit.
Good. So we have a couple of questions that came in from one of the patrons. We have a Patreon account for the show that people support the show, and they generally get priority for answering, having their questions answered.
Okay.
But we've talked about a couple of them. It says, what's been the most challenging part of this season? I don't know if we addressed that one specifically, but do you have anything that comes to mind?
Well, yeah, we went away to play Cheltenham, and because Keynsham were the other our biggest rivals, we thought they're pushing for promotion as well, unbeaten. So went to Cheltenham, and the game just did not go the way we wanted to. We were trying to stick to our philosophy, playing out the back, and not to make excuses, but the pitch was dire, and we're trying to play short, and we just couldn't even get it out of our half because it would just be bobbling and going out everywhere. But we stuck to it, and it just didn't work for us. And unfortunately, they scored in the last 5 minutes, so we lost 1-0, and that was not a game we were expecting to lose at all. So that's why it was so important when we went to Keynsham. We had to win that game, otherwise that was pretty much our season over. So
right,
when we won that, it was the best moment so far this season, 100%. But yeah, that was definitely the lowest, losing to Cheltenham when we were not expecting it.
All right. Well, thanks to Dave Lee for sending that question in, and thank you, Issy, for joining me. And I know I've kind of taken up every moment of your time, and I apologize for that, but I do appreciate it. And I've enjoyed this. I hope it's been okay. I know I asked some, I don't know, maybe more serious questions than normal, but
that's fine.
Okay. It seemed, I don't know what it was. Maybe it's I was talking to some of the kids in my class yesterday about stuff, and maybe that's just on my mind now. So anyway.
Yeah, maybe you relate to it as a father with.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a big part of that, and it's that's 100% there. So hopefully it's not too hopefully it's not too out of context for everybody else. Hopefully it's good. But thank you, and I look forward to hopefully doing this again, and maybe like you mentioned, getting your boyfriend on the show and talking to him about stuff, because I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, get him and Elliot on. That would be interesting.
Yeah. So once again, Issy, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
So we'd like to welcome to the Southampton Delivery Podcast a very special guest. Matt Neuhausen is fresh off a plane from being in England and attending the latest match we've had, Southampton against Everton. And basically, Matt, welcome, and we're just here to talk about the trip a little bit.
Thanks, Matt. Happy to be on, and excited to talk about my trip over to Southampton in the UK.
Now, was that your first trip over to the UK period at all?
This is not my first trip over to the UK. Actually, went over there last season. A friend of mine invited me, and I went out to we saw Manchester United and they played Stoke City last year. Yeah.
All right. Was Mark Hughes still in charge of Stoke City at that time?
Believe it or not, it was his first game out. The first game after he'd been sacked.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't have to witness that, because I saw plenty of them at West Ham.
Yeah, no, it was a managerless Stoke, and was actually probably one of the more brighter Mourinho performances at United.
Yeah. Well, did you get to go to Old Trafford then? Is that where it was at, or did you have to go to Stoke? Because that would have been terrible.
No, I got to go to Old Trafford.
All right. There's a positive there. And I guess it gives you something to compare Southampton Stadium to, you know. But yeah, so you've been kind of all over then the UK, then north and south, and and then even into London a little bit. But yeah, I mean, this, I guess, was your first time actually going down to the stadium and getting to see the team that you've been supporting for a while. But, when did you start supporting Saints, and how did you come to find them and select them as the team?
Yeah, so it definitely was I'll say it's a gradual process, but I was supporting the team for about 6 years. Started around 2013. Started managing them on FIFA 13, oddly enough. I definitely enjoy FIFA. Definitely wanted to get more into the Premier League, though. That was one of the leagues that I hadn't really followed prior to 2013. Knew a lot of the top 6 teams just, from notoriety, like, Manchester United, Arsenal. A lot of my friends supported those teams. But yeah, managed Southampton in FIFA. I liked a lot of the players. They, developed really quickly. Luke Shaw was awesome, and James Ward-Prowse. They were great. And it was around the same time that NBC picked up the Premier League broadcast rights.
Uh-huh.
So it was cool because I was able to then watch them, in their games, with Pochettino. And it was, exceptionally cool to see them, hold their own against those big teams, like those teams that I had only known about, just because of their popularity.
Yeah.
Here I saw this team. Yeah, they were more of an underdog team, and they were holding their own. And kind of just grew from there. Then, right after Pochettino, Koeman came in, and Koeman had a very exciting style, and I think it would be almost impossible not to root for a Ronald Koeman team when he was with Southampton there, and grew to become an obsession of mine.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Kind of what drew me to the team is not only the academy system, but also the style of play. And I don't know, I like counterattacking kind of fast. I don't mind if other teams are controlling the ball and things like that. I want to see things happen quickly. I want to score in kind of the blink of an eye. And that was what that Koeman team seemed to do for me. And that was, even though I was watching the Premier League a little bit, with my friend, my Arsenal friend, it was nice when I really started, I guess when I chose the team, it was Koeman's first year, and I was in love. So it's been great. Yeah. So, I mean, so let's dive into your trip a little bit. You fly, I mean, from Florida to London, what is that? It's a 6.5 hour flight.
Yeah, we had a stopover in Reykjavik.
Okay.
So it's about 6 hours there, 7 hours there. And that's another 3 hours over to London from there.
Okay. Dang, that's because from here, if you go, well, man, because you covered a lot of ground then, because you are way down in Florida. And
yes.
From us, like, we kind of flew up over into Canada, like kind of over the Great Lakes into Canada, and then boat kind of just south of Iceland, and then directly into England. And I want to say our flight was like 11 hours. And so,
okay,
man, if you could have gotten a direct flight, you could have cut a lot of time out. But it's all right.
Oh, yeah.
It's all right. You got to do what the pocketbook says sometimes.
Oh yeah, it was a great rate. So it was like I booked the flight, and then we figured everything else out. We just made sure that it correlated with the game.
Yeah, absolutely. You did get to go to a game. You did get to go to see Southampton, Everton, and you have kind of a unique story. I don't know how much you want to share about how it all worked out, but I mean, you had a pretty good experience. You saw a good game. You saw a win, which is always good. And just, I guess, having supported the team for so long, like, what were your feelings when you were finally, getting into Southampton for the first time the night before, and then as you're kind of getting up on match day, and what that experience was like? Yeah,
no, I definitely, for a long time I've known I've been going to this game, and I don't think it really started to dawn on me until I got on the coach in London that I was heading down to this city that I've only known about through social media and, through other media like on TV. And it was definitely remarkable for me. And then to get into the city, I remember it was just this really excited feeling because I finally saw like the tower of the Sea City Museum, because I've seen that on on Twitter and social media, and it was like, okay, well, now I'm here, and and just rolling up to St. Mary's on Saturday was just, I don't know, I can't really describe it. It was pure joy.
Yeah, I can relate a little bit. And I saw the England women's national team play at the stadium, but just like the way we approached the stadium, and I don't know where you stayed in the city or how, like what your first glimpse of the stadium was like, but we were coming from kind of the backside, and we were walking in a huge group of people, and we turned a corner, and I felt really bad because we turned a corner, and an old man walked directly into a pool because he was looking down at his phone.
Oh no!
And so like I turned around and we're kind of like, oh, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And so at that point, right when I turned around after that, I saw like you can just see part of the part of the roof that like kind of sticks up and out, kind of the support, I guess. And that's the first thing I saw. And I was like, "There's a stadium." And like people are looking around like, "Shut up, who cares?" Like, I care. It's the first time I've ever seen it, dude. Like, leave me alone. But it's and we did a bunch of other stuff that day. And the only thing I wanted to do was like, I just want to go to the game. I just want to go to the game. And so like I can relate to the feelings you get, and it's an awesome experience, right? Just walking in and
it is
getting through the turnstile, and I just wanted to run up the steps and see the pitch, basically.
Yeah, I'll say it was really cool. I don't really know if there's a name for it or where it is. We knew where the direction of the stadium was, and we kind of just stumbled upon it. But they have it's sort of like a covered walkway, and in the walkway, there's like murals of like the team's history. If you walk through it, there's like the crest, and then they've got, a plastered image of Gareth Bale when he played there, and, like the European qualification, and they've got like Matt Letizia, and it's just like these covered walls and this covered bridge. And that was like how I knew I was close, and then got to the end of that, and there it was. Yeah. There was a stadium. So it was almost like all of those images were welcoming me to the field. Yeah,
I do. I know what you're talking about. I mean, I think we took a bunch of pictures in there while we were in there, but it's a pretty awesome thing. And, I think people listening who go every week will be like, whatever, but it's something we, may only get to see once or twice, if we're lucky. And some fans will never be able to see it, or maybe never see it again, which is another thing. But, once you're inside the stadium and you had some ticket, you had some good luck with your tickets, I guess. You wound up, do you want to say where you wound up and sitting or?
Yeah, of course. You ended up in hospitality for the game, which was really cool. And prior to the match, I was actually contacted by Trevor from the Aussie Saints Twitter page, and he let me know that the club was trying to get in touch with me. Before that, I made a tweet that my girlfriend had bought tickets for me for my birthday, and we were coming over for the match, and the club found out about that and was able to get in touch with the club, and they thought it was really impressive that we were coming all the way from Florida and wanted to upgrade us for the match. So we were able to enjoy some, pre-match, activities in the Saints bar, which was cool. We had food for us, and it had a couple of former players in there, which was great. They talked about their time playing for the club, and then they actually got to go out and had some really, really great seats on the Itchin stand.
Oh, that's awesome! It's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think it's awesome that the club did that. I think it, I don't know. I think it shows that they are listening. I mean, they picked up on the tweet through social media, and they responded to it. And Trevor, we should give him, he's never been on the show, but he is definitely, whenever he interacts with my account at all, the show does a lot better. And so Trevor is definitely a big help, in that. And he's done a lot of things. He's been a lot of places and connected a lot of Saints fans. And so I think it's nice that he was able to help you out there.
Yeah, very, very grateful to him. If it wasn't for his message, I wouldn't have known what the club were trying to get in touch with me, and really made the experience special.
Yeah. Now, watching the match, big difference between 10 a.m. at your house, right? And then 3 p.m. in Southampton. But what was the biggest thing? What was the biggest difference that you noticed as you're watching the match?
Being there, you have a different vision for the game when you're, there in person, and I know that from when I played in high school and attended games here. It's different, but having supported this club and getting to see all these players that I've only seen on TV. I've never seen any Southampton player play in person before. This match, it was definitely something special just to see these guys, like especially James Ward-Prowse, and I've been following him since like the beginning, and to see him in person, and then not only that, to score a goal was so great.
I mean, was your girlfriend like half as excited as you were, or was she just like watching you kind of fanboy it up and do that? Because my wife was 100% making fun of me the entire time we were there.
No, she was really great. Like, she was really excited that I was excited, and I think that brought her a lot of joy too, and she really enjoyed it because. I don't remember it, but she said that I like kind of teared up when I came out and saw the pitch for the first time. Like, I won't, I don't remember that, but she said I did.
Yeah. Well, if she said you just go with it, it's fine. Like and when you have grandkids sitting on your knees at some point, like, sitting on your lap, and you start telling the story, like, you got to force that tear, just one tear. The first time I saw the Southampton pitch, like, this is what happened. Cause I don't know. I think it's something truly special. I think it's awesome that you had a great time, and I think it's awesome that the club kind of helped you have a great time, and I'm sure the people that were around and everything, I'm sure they were great as well. Oh yeah, everybody was really fantastic, and that's such another great thing about supporting Southampton is that the fan base is so welcoming and inclusive, and you never know what you're going to get if you're supporting a team from an ocean away. But everybody I met was just thrilled that, I made the trip from America to come to the game, and was really happy to be there. Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to gauge that from Twitter, like, are people going to be happy that I'm here, or are they is there going to be some sort of backlash? And it turns out, like, 99% of the people in real life are nice, and everybody that I ran into at the match, nobody was like, get like, you don't belong here. Everybody was great. And so I'm glad that you had kind of the same experience. And one of the things that I remember going to the match was I met Freddie from the Ugly Inside beforehand, because everybody had to come through Waterloo Station, which was near, everybody had to take the train up to Waterloo Station and then take the tube out towards West Ham. And all the Saints fans had to do it. So, like, he's like, let's go up to the bar. Like, we'll get a drink before we go, and we'll watch some of the match that's on, the lunchtime kickoff. And, here are all these people that I know from Twitter kind of walking up and walking in. And it's kind of like, hey, everybody says hi to Freddie because everybody knows him. And then you can see the people start to make the connection, like, hey, I know you, like, what's going on? And it's like, oh, this is like, that was as exciting as going to the match for me. Just like getting to meet the people that I only ever get to talk to on social media. Yeah, no, that's a really cool feeling. And I think, I wish I was able to meet more people that I knew through Twitter, just to put a name to the face. I write currently for Talk Saints. I was hoping, to meet up with a few of those guys. It didn't work out, unfortunately. I know a couple of them missed the match, and then it's hard to keep in touch through, text when, you don't have a data plan overseas. So it was hard to work out something to meet up, but, I'm hoping like next visit or something, I'll actually get to meet some of the people from Twitter. Well, if it makes you feel any better, there were a couple of guys that were in my group chat that we had plans. We were up there. A bunch of them were at the game, and some of them were over from America even, and they were all there. And the game was just so bad that everybody just like left. Like after nobody wanted to meet up. So I didn't meet a single person from this group chat, and we had there were 6 of us, I think, there at the match, and none of us saw each other. And I was like, that's pathetic. We can't let that happen again. And so everybody's just like, no, you trust me, you didn't want to talk to us after the game. We were all just upset. So next time we'll make it happen. So it's, yes. And it's, I assume at some point you're looking to go back. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's just like, it was such a great feeling to be there. And, I've been waiting for so long, and it was almost like after it all finished, it was, you're at such a high point, you're like, oh, well, now it's over. So it's like, I gotta make sure I, get back to this somehow. Yeah, I mean, it's something I talk about all the time. I talk about going over there and just being at the match. And I took a recorder in, so I have some audio of just people in the stands as the match is going on. And it sounds stupid maybe, but it's stuff that I listen to every once in a while just because it just reminds me of being there. And I think it's great.
Yeah, I have like one of my Snapchats has a really good, I guess, audio bit of the, the Saints go marching in chant.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely listened to that a couple times after the match just to take me back a little bit.
Yeah. I guess just kind of to wrap it up, if you had to give a travel tip to anybody who's going over there from America, what would you say was something you learned that that maybe would help somebody out if they were to go for the first time?
Definitely take coach over to Southampton. I actually got I heard that like a lot of the trains can get backed up over there, and went through a site to book my coach tickets, and it was so cheap. And it takes about the same amount of time as it does by train. But it gets you there at a set time. And for about the price it is to take a one-way train trip down there, it's a round-trip coach trip. So you can't beat that. And
no. I know we put 4 people on a train down and back. And I was like, oh, this is like, I might as well just buy a ticket back home,
Yeah.
But that's what people have to deal with every week, it seems like. So it's fair play to everybody who does all the traveling, because it's not. You think of guys like Dan James who haven't missed a match, and I think it's almost it's definitely over 200 at this point.
Wow!
And it's like, man, that's a ton. So it's crazy, but we should mention again that you do write for Talk Saints or contribute to Talk Saints. So if we'll put the link in the show notes for anybody who wants to check it out. And I'd love to have you on for a full on episode, but I wanted to make sure we got this chat in because I want to talk about the trip, because I think it's one of those things that maybe some American fans or fans in other places around the world might hear and think this is, maybe it is worth the socking the money away to find a flight and just, get lucky with the price and get over there.
Definitely, and I'll definitely add one more thing too for other American supporters or anybody else who's traveling from outside the UK. It's a really great opportunity after the match to meet the players, because they park in a lot next to the stadium, and they usually set it up so that fans can meet them after the game. And I was able to meet the whole squad.
Oh, sweet.
After that game, there was a couple I didn't see, but for the most part, pretty much the entire squad came out and we're more than happy to meet people and sign for them, and let pretty much everyone I met know that I was from the U.S. And they were all like, "Oh, wow, that's so great! You came over for the match." And even Shane Long was like, "We'll have to get you to more games now."
Yeah, that's good for him. I'm glad he. Yeah, I mean, having seen all of was there anybody that was just shockingly different in person than you imagined them to be?
It was actually really cool to meet Danny Ings, because I've heard just from talking to people that he's one of the more harder ones to meet. So kind of you already get that outside impression he might not be as friendly, or not that, but it wasn't the case at all. He was super cool and taking pictures and signing for people outside. He was in the front of the stadium, so I actually had to move pretty quickly when someone mentioned that he was there.
Okay,
but yeah, he was great, and I was very excited to meet him.
I feel a little bit bad. I'm looking. I have some cards up here that somebody sent me with some player signatures on them, and I have Hughes, who's gone, Tadic, who's gone, Stuart Taylor, who's gone, and Cedric. The only remaining card is Redmond, and I'm like, I think I should just take it down before he leaves. But I'm glad you got to meet everybody. I'm glad everybody was, dude. I'm just glad you had a good time. I'm glad everybody was nice. I think it's great.
Yeah, they were all really, really awesome. And I know just from attending games for various sports in the U.S., it's you don't know if you're going to have that access.
Yeah.
So it was for me, it was almost really surprising. And it wasn't even a huge crowd there at the end of the game. And maybe it's just a consequence of people being there every game. So, it's not something they're, looking to do after the match, but was really glad that opportunity was there. It is was able to even meet James Ward-Prowse and say, it was a great goal.
Yeah. And and you're right. It is a lot different than a lot of sports in the United States, where you just don't even MLS matches or USL matches. You just don't have the access to the players generally that a lot of Premier League fans seem to have to theirs, and it's I don't know what it is, but it's definitely different. It's hard to even kind of even think about when you try to explain to somebody who hasn't kind of experienced it, I think.
Yeah, it really is. I've been to a couple of the Orlando City matches, and back when they had Kaká playing there, it was almost untouchable. He'd go in and out, and he'd have escorts around him. Maybe more the nature of the type of player he was, but it's a lot harder, I think, to be able to meet those guys, and was really pleasantly surprised to be able to meet all these guys from Southampton.
Yeah, absolutely. But all right, well, Matt, thank you so much. I know you had to come back and go straight to work, and you've come straight off work, and you're talking to me, so I appreciate it very much. I know. How's the jet lag treating you? You all right?
Oh yeah, doing great. I'm sure I'll be 100% here in the next couple of days.
All right. We'll stay in touch, and we'll do this after a match a little later on in the season. We'll just we'll do the whole thing. It'll be great. I think just thanks for doing this. Thanks for taking some time, and congratulations on the trip. And make sure don't forget your girlfriend's birthday after what she did for you.
Yes, and I'll definitely have to do something special.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
That.
All right, Matt. Well, thanks again, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Keep doing all the good work you're doing, and I look forward to the next time.
And that does it for this episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Special thanks this week goes out to Issy Foster. You can find her on Twitter at IssyFoster93. Special thanks to NATS, or NATS, as I believe it is called, for making some donations to the club so that they can have jackets and things to keep them warm, because apparently it is cold in England in the winter. Who knew? If you're interested in supporting any part of the Southampton Women's Football Club, you can do that. Check out the link in the show notes to the website, get in contact with their secretary, and set it all up. I am proud to say that I am a sponsor of a former coach, and so my sponsorship goes to the club, and I am proud to continue that, and I will continue to do that as long as my wife will let me. Part of the reason I'm able to do that is because of the Patreon support that I receive on this show. People over at patreon.com/SFC Delivery donate a small amount of money each month. In return, they get a little bit extra, but I get the peace of mind of knowing the cost of running the show won't be as high. So if you are interested in getting maybe just a little bit extra and you'd like to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/SFC Delivery. But please, please, please realize that is not a mandatory thing. Matt Neuhausen. Also, I'd like to thank you for being on the show this week. You have been great. We'll talk to you soon. And if you haven't checked out Talk Saints yet, they just got a new website up and running not too long ago. Go do that. The links are in the show notes. This show would not be possible without Matt Beeling of the We Are Southampton page on Instagram, who did the logo for the show. And it sure as heck wouldn't happen without the Southampton page, which is where you can go to get all of your Saints FC news and needs on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you are enjoying the show and you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave a review or tell a friend. It all helps spread the word about the show. All music in this episode comes courtesy of the Free Music Archive at freemusicarchive.org. The intro song is Epic Song by Boxcat Games, and the end of show credits that you're listening to right now is Aim is True by Poddington Bear. And that does it for this week. We'll talk to you next time. And until then, remember that together, we march on.